Okay, so the purpose of this video is just to introduce you to the Excel screen. There are some similarities to Word and PowerPoint, but there are also a lot of differences. So we want to make sure that you have a good, solid understanding of what you're looking at when you're looking at Excel. Okay, some of the ribbons are the same. We have a home ribbon. It has some different stuff on it, but that's typical because it's always the most common stuff. The insert ribbon, the page layout ribbon. We have a ribbon called formulas. Formulas does not exist in PowerPoint or Word. Neither does data. Formulas, we'll talk about data. We're not going to touch in this introductory class, but there's a lot you can do with that. When you are looking at the setup, the top part is the same, but underneath the ribbon you have something that we call the formula bar. The formula bar is it's unique to Excel, and it has a couple different purposes. Over here on the left is what we call the range box, and that shows you what the selected cell is. So right now, and I haven't talked about cells, but we'll say it says E4. That means I have cell E4 selected. E is the column letter, 4 is the row number. The intersection of a column and a row is called a cell, and a cell is identified by its cell address, which again is in this case E4. Next to that we have this section which is for entering. If I wanted to put in, maybe I wanted to type hello. Okay, once I type it up here, if I want to enter it, I would press check and it would enter my text into that cell. If I'll type hello again. I didn't change my mind and didn't want to enter it, I could hit X and that would tell me not to enter what I just typed. Sometimes you just make a mistake, it clears it. Again, pressing enter or hitting the backspace button will do the same thing. This button right here is the insert function button, and it brings up the insert function dialog box, and we will talk about that a lot more later. This bar right here shows the contents of the current cell. So right now I have a blank cell, so there's nothing in there. If I click on a number, I'll see a number. If I click on a word, I'll see a word. If I come over here, it looks like a number when you're looking at the worksheet, but if you look up here you can see that this is actually a built-in function. It's a function called sum. So Excel's a little tricky in that what you're looking at isn't necessarily, or what you're seeing isn't exactly obvious. Okay, so sometimes it's a number, sometimes it's a formula or a function, so you want to be aware of that. Okay, as I said before, across the cells are identified by a column letter and a row number. Across the top we have our column letters. Each letter identifies a column. Okay, when you click on it, you've selected that column, and we have all of column F here. Over on the left we have a row. Again, if I click on the number, I select a row, and a row is identified by the number. The intersection of the row and the column is the cell address. So this cell happens to be G3. I know that because again, G is highlighted, 3 is highlighted, and up here in the range box it tells me I have G3 selected. We use cell addresses a lot. Okay, again, my sum function, just to give you an example, and we'll dig into this deeper later, sum tells me to sum contents of B4 through G4. So it's basically saying add all those numbers together, and I didn't have to type in those numbers. I'd already typed them in once. I didn't have to type them again. It looks at that cell address and it adds what are in those cells. So that's pretty cool. We will, like I said, we will use cell addresses a lot, so get used to that. Down at the bottom, just to finish off our worksheet, we have sheet tabs. Right now we just have one sheet, but if I hit plus, I can add a second sheet, blank worksheet that I can use if I needed to keep track of something else. I have the first 6 months of the year here. Maybe I do the second 6 months on a different sheet, or maybe I'm keeping track of different numbers on a different sheet. So I can have multiple worksheets going at the same time, which is or can be very convenient. Couple other things I want to introduce real quick because you'll hear them again and again from me. The first one is the concept of a range. A range is just a group of cells, and you identify it by its upper left corner and its bottom right corner with a colon in between. So if I say the range B3 through H3, my upper left would be B3, my lower right would be H3 because it's just one cell, and I would enter that as B3 colon H3. Okay, and you'll see me when I give an assignment and refer to a range, that's how I would do it. Ranges can be columns, so this range is A4 through A8, or they could be, maybe we want all the numbers in there, this range would be B4 colon G7. Okay, so upper left, lower right is how you identify it. The last thing I want to point out is when you're moving around, if you want to select, make sure you have that fat white plus. Okay, then you can highlight ranges for your cell. And as in Word, tabbing can move you around. Enter moves you down. Okay, all right, so that's kind of an overview. We will dig into Excel a whole lot deeper as we go, but we just wanted to get you familiar with the Excel screen.